What if one of the biggest crypto regulation stories in years is being timed deliberately? Now, before anybody jumps into the comments saying, here we go, a conspiracy theory time yet again, let me be clear from the start. This is speculation based on timing and political incentives. There is no official confirmation that this is happening intentionally, but when you actually look at the timeline surrounding the Clarity Act, the White House targets, Donald Trump's current messaging around crypto, and America's upcoming 250th anniversary celebrations, it starts to get very, very interesting. Because right now, rumors are spreading across social media that the Clarity Act could be moving forward again on May the 14th. And if it passes the next stage, it heads deeper into the Senate process. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Clarity Act is one of the most important crypto bills we've seen in years, maybe even ever. This isn't just another random piece of regulation. This is potentially the framework that finally tells America what crypto assets are securities, what crypto assets are commodities, who regulates them, and how crypto companies can legally operate in the United States of America. In other words, this bill could finally bring the regulatory clarity that the market has been begging for. And that's why so many people are watching this so closely, including me. But here's where this gets really interesting. One of the moderators inside the crypto wolfpack called Dean has been saying for months now that he believed this entire thing would be timed around the 250th anniversary of America on the 4th of July. At the time when he first said it inside the wolfpack, that sounded like a pretty wild theory, but now, with reports suggesting that the White House wants crypto legislation completed by July the 4th, the timeline suddenly lines up almost perfectly. So today we're going to break down what's actually happening with the Clarity Act, why May 14th matters so much, and why the market cares so much about that date. Also, the growing theory that this could all be building towards a massive political and symbolic moment for Donald Trump on America's biggest birthday celebration in modern history. And honestly, whether you agree with this theory or not, this could be one of the biggest crypto stories in 2026.
I am not a financial advisor. This video is based solely on my opinion and what I'm personally doing in this market. I also want to let you know that some of the links below and in the descriptions are affiliate links, meaning I may get a commission, but it will be at no extra cost to you. Please remember that under no circumstances will I ever contact you and ask you for investments. You can confirm all of my real social media handles in the description and also at milkshakematty.com. This content is for educational and entertainment only, and I'm not a financial advisor.
So let's start with the basics. For years now, crypto companies in America have been operating in what many people describe as a legal grey area. The SEC has been aggressively pursuing crypto firms through lawsuits and enforcement actions. At the same time, the CFTC has argued that many digital assets should actually fall under commodity regulation instead. And the problem is, nobody has properly defined where the lines are actually going to be drawn. And that uncertainty has scared investors, institutions, banks, and major companies. Because if you don't know the rules, you don't know what the risks are. Now, imagine trying to build a billion-dollar business in an industry where the rules can seemingly change overnight at the click of a finger. That's been one of the biggest problems facing crypto in the United States, and the Clarity Act is designed to change that. The goal of this legislation is to finally establish who regulates what, how the exchanges should operate, what counts as decentralized, and how digital assets are classified. Now, if this eventually becomes law, it could be absolutely massive because regulatory clarity is one of the biggest missing ingredients stopping larger institutions' money from flowing into crypto properly. And this isn't just about Bitcoin. This affects XRP, Ethereum, stablecoins, exchanges, tokenizations, ETFs. The list goes on. In fact, the entire future of digital finance in America, in my opinion, relies on this going through, which is exactly why the market right now is paying so much attention. So what exactly is happening on May 14th? Well, according to multiple reports, the Senate Banking Committee is expected to hold a markup and consideration session for the Clarity Act. Now, this is important because it means the bill is officially moving again after the delays. And in politics, momentum matters, especially with legislation. If the committee advances the bill, then it progresses further into the Senate process. And then it will get placed onto the legislative calendar for broader debate and political voting at a later stage. Now, let's make something very clear here because social media is already exaggerating this. May 14th is not final approval. It is not immediate law. And it is definitely not instant crypto to the moon. That's not what this is. But it is potentially the biggest procedural step forward we've seen in crypto regulation in a very, very long time. And markets don't wait for the final outcome. Markets move on expectations, probability, momentum, and narrative shifts. That's why even momentum at a committee level could become a bullish catalyst, because for years the market narrative has been America is hostile towards crypto. But suddenly, the narrative may be changing towards America wants to lead crypto. And that is a completely different story. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Inside the Wolfpack community, one of the moderators called Dean has been saying for months that he believed this legislation would eventually line up with America's 250th anniversary celebrations on July the 4th. Now, at first glance, that did sound crazy to me, but let's actually look at the facts. July the 4th, 2026 marks 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This is a huge deal in America right now. There are massive nationwide celebrations being planned under the America 250 campaign. And Donald Trump has heavily aligned himself along that patriotic line and messaging around America's greatness, leadership, strength, and economic dominance. Now let's combine that with Trump's increasingly pro-crypto stance, because over the past year, Trump has embraced Bitcoin mining, spoke positively about crypto innovation, criticized over-regulation, and repeatedly pushed the idea that America should dominate the future of digital assets. Now, here's where the timeline gets interesting. We now have movement on May 14th, likely Senate discussions through June, and reports suggesting that the White House wants legislation completed by July the 4th. That's not conspiracy, that's an actual reported targeted timeline. And politically, you can absolutely see why this would make sense. Imagine Donald Trump standing on the stage during America's 250th anniversary celebration and announcing that America is becoming the crypto capital of the world. America is leading innovation, America is embracing financial technology, and America is reclaiming dominance in the digital economy. From a political storytelling perspective, that would be an incredibly powerful moment. Now, again, we do not have evidence that delays were intentionally made to make this happen on that timeline. And it's important to stay responsible here. But what we can say is this. Once delays happened naturally, political strategists may well have realised the symbolic opportunity of aligning crypto legislation with America's 250th birthday celebrations. And honestly, that's not unrealistic at all. Politicians love symbolic timing, especially in America. They love major announcements to be tied to patriotic events, national celebrations, historical anniversaries, and legacy-defining moments. So whether this is intentional or simply a coincidence that became politically useful, the timing suddenly looks very hard to ignore. Now let's talk about why the markets care so much, because if America finally establishes proper crypto regulation, it changes everything. One of the biggest problems institutions face right now is uncertainty. Big money doesn't like uncertainty. Banks don't like uncertainty. Pension funds do not like uncertainty, and major corporations definitely do not like uncertainty. But regulatory clarity changes the equation completely, because suddenly risk becomes measurable, compliance becomes possible, and long-term planning becomes realistic. That could unlock institutional capital, new ETF growth, banking integration, and tokenization expansion, and honestly, just a wider mainstream adoption. Now for XRP specifically, this is one reason the XRP community is so excited, because the entire XRP case has revolved around questions surrounding security classification, decentralization, and regulatory jurisdiction. So naturally, many XRP holders believe legislation like this could massively benefit Ripple and XRP's long-term positioning. Now, does this generate price explosion overnight? No, absolutely not. Anybody telling you that it does is talking waffle. And this is another important reality check. Crypto markets rarely move in straight lines, but what legislation like this can do or could do is shift long-term sentiment, and sentiment drives markets. If investors begin believing America is finally opening the door to crypto permanently, full time, that narrative alone could fuel momentum before final legislation is even completed. And honestly, we may already be seeing early signs of that, because recently Bitcoin has showed renewed strength. Crypto stocks have rallied and broader optimism appears to be returning to the market. Now, obviously, there are multiple factors involved in any market movement, but the Clarity Act narrative is definitely becoming part of the conversation again. Now, before anybody gets too carried away, let's bring this back down to earth for a second, because there are still major hurdles ahead. Even if the committee stage progresses smoothly, the bill will still need broader Senate approval, political support, debate, and even amendments. And politically, that can get messy. Things can get delayed, timelines can slip, and opposition still exists. Banking interests are still pushing back on parts of the crypto legislation, particularly surrounding stablecoins and yield structure. So nothing here is guaranteed. And honestly, that's important to understand, because the biggest mistake crypto investors make is treating possibilities as certainties. Right now, the smarter approach is this: watch the developments, follow the timeline, observe the market reactions, and stay grounded in facts rather than hype. But equally, don't underestimate how significant this moment could be, because for the first time in a long time, it genuinely feels like America is moving towards a real crypto framework. And if that happens, it could become one of the most important turning points this industry has ever seen. So, what do you think? Is this simply normal political timing, or could the Clarity Act genuinely be lining up with America's 250th anniversary celebrations so Donald Trump can deliver one of the biggest symbolic crypto announcements in US history? Either way, May 14th suddenly matters a lot more than most people are even realizing. Because whether you believe the July 4th theory or not, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Crypto regulation in America is finally moving. And if that momentum continues, 2026 could end up becoming one of the most important years crypto has ever seen. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe. And don't forget, new episodes of the UK Crypto Podcast go live every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time. Last week's episode, we had the CEO of the world's largest crypto publication, the Crypto Magazine, on into the studio. And it's been a really, really good episode. I really enjoyed making that one, and honestly, the feedback has been phenomenal. If you want to catch up on previous episodes, or indeed see the new episodes coming up, I'm going to be linking the playlist at the end of this video somewhere above my head so you can go and check it out. Also, if you could all do us a big favor and go and follow us on social media. The UK Crypto Podcast now has a TikTok and an X Twitter account. So go and search us, go and follow us, and we appreciate every single one of you. And a little celebration. Yesterday, we reached 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I appreciate every single one of you that has been with me along this journey. It's been a wild ride transitioning over from TikTok over to YouTube, but reaching that 10,000 subscriber milestone feels like a really big one for me. So now, moving forward, it's the road to 20K. So if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I'll see you on the next one. And remember this: the strength of the wolf is in the pack.